Okay, we're going to take our two-column notes. Before we do, let's review really quickly the rubric, so our expectations for when we take notes. Obviously, we have our left side and right side. Our right side will reflect the work that we do, the readings that we look at, and the left side, obviously, the things that we're thinking about as we're reading. So our right side is going to include our headings, topics, and subtopics. We want to accurately identify the main idea and the most important information. This is really our supporting details for the most important information. This goes down here as well, includes relevant historical details. Now, I find getting a main idea is not that easy, so I like to take my details first. They're a little bit easier to find from the reading, and then go back and select the main idea after reading more of the text. That way I get a better main idea. It's more accurate. It is more all-encompassing to the text that I'm reading. So taking that main idea, that's a skill. It takes a while, and that takes a lot of practice. So we're gonna work on that for a while. On the right side, we're also going to paraphrase accurately. I'm not going to copy the text straight from what I'm reading. I'm going to paraphrase using my own words. I'm going to find key terms when they're in the text. I'm going to always take the key terms down, and I'm going to put them on the right side, not the left side, but the right side. This is information. This is textual information, so I'm going to keep it on the right side. I'm going to make them clear, concise, and well organized. I don't want to have notes that are sort of spread out all over the place or kind of go in poor directions or anything like that. All right. If I'm taking notes for an argument or a persuasive essay, I'm going to have my evidence on the right side as well. If we pair share our notes, which we'll do a lot, you're going to want to show noticeable evidence of rethinking and reflection. So using a different color pen or pencil, you're going to, instead of erasing things, you're just going to add to your notes. You're going to amend them or add things to them as we go. You're also going to show your hard work, okay? So that's going to be pretty important. On our left side, these are the things that we think about as we read. So we want to see that you're putting thought and effort into understanding the content by making insightful, highlight that, underline it, and relevant, so things that aren't related, comments, connections, questions, predictions, inferences, not things like OMG, nope, we don't want to say that, or that's shocking. No, those are not good, insightful comments or connections or inferences. Things that we want to talk about are, how do we connect to the text? Okay, how are we making our thoughts well known? Then what you're doing is not obvious. Again, you're looking for insightful analysis of things that you're reading, you're looking at, etc. Make sure you are showing insightful reflection, rethinking, and revision. So again, these are connected when we go back and talk about things. The most important thing here is obviously to make it insightful. Okay, we want to say that you're thinking about what you're reading. The last part of a two-column note, of course, is the summary. This is the most important information you can provide. No more than 3 sentences to explain to someone else what you read. So if Mr. Brown walked in the door, what would you tell him that you just read? Again, you want to keep it to no more than 3 sentences. This is also pretty difficult to do, okay, because a lot of times we want to include a lot of things in our summary that maybe don't need to be in there. So let's take 1 second here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to be reading. I'm going to read about Revolution Changing America. Now, this particular thing that we're going to read, we're going to jump around a little bit. We're not going to take the notes exactly like we take them every time. So I'm going to do this one with you just to make it a little bit easier. We're going to read Revolution Changes America. Okay. We're going to read about the Treaty of Paris. We're going to read about women's rights, here, the slavery question, impact on religion, and then a new nation, which is sort of the ending of this whole chapter. So I'm going to start with I'm going to start with the Treaty of Paris. Okay. So, some royal officials still hoped that America would remain part of the British Empire, but the American diplomats, who included Benjamin Franklin and John Adams, insisted on independence. The Americans negotiated a peace treaty. The Treaty of Paris was signed on September 3rd, 1783. In it, Britain formally recognized the United States as an independent nation. The treaty also declared the Mississippi River the western boundary of the United States. Britain agreed to leave its forts in the west. Spain and France also made peace with Britain in the Treaty of Paris. In return for its help during the war, Spain regained control of Florida. After all the trouble caused by taxes in the Treaty of Paris, the United States now promised to pay what Americans owed to British merchants. The treaty also allowed loyalists to claim property losses. Okay, so I'm going to write about the topic here. Will be Revolution Changes America. First thing I'm writing about is the Treaty of Paris. Since I know I'm writing a lot, I'm not doing anything like huge text. I'm not going to write like crazy big. Okay. So I'm going to write MI for my main idea. That's what I'm going to write for every time I take 2 column notes. MI is my main idea. I'm going to leave space for it though, because like I said, I like to do the main idea at the end. From the reading, I have a few supporting details. Treaty was signed 9/3/1783. The terms of the treaty: Britain recognized the United States. The Mississippi River I'm going to say W for western is the western boundary of the U.S. And I'll just say B for British forts remain in West. Spain, or SP, regains Florida. Okay, these are the terms of the treaty. I'm going to do a third supporting detail. That's kind of what you want to stick to. 3 supporting details if you're reading 3 paragraphs. I mean, it's pretty standard. So Americans would pay British merchants and loyalists claimed property losses. So based on all of this, my main idea, here's what I'm going to say. War ended with Britain recognizing American independence and restoring peaceful ties with Europe, because I'm going to include Spain in there as well. Alright, so that's my main idea. I'll just write it in here. These are my first section of the notes. Okay. Now I want to get some CCQs about this. What are my thoughts on this here? I'm sure Britain was probably very unhappy to lose its colonies. Okay. I also have a question. I wonder, did any wars break out between Great Britain and U.S. after this treaty? Okay. I'm also curious. I'm going to ask one more question. Even though I don't want to ask too many questions, as long as they're insightful and they show that I'm thinking about it, what will Britain do for money That's another question I have. Okay.
Sorry. No.
Because I live like an hour away. I would go, but I got a kid and, you know. Alright, so what I'm reading next is going to be about revolution changing America. So the American Revolution brought many changes to American society. Politics became more democratic. More men gained the right to vote.